It's going to be tough.
If we don't hold our nerve, it's going to end in disaster.
Can we rise to the challenge?
Can we deliver the jokes? Can we deliver when it really matters?
Presenting does not get tougher than this.
Good evening. Welcome to Have I Got News For You? I'm Gregg Wallace.
And I'm John Torode.
And after yet another week in which nothing's gone right for him, Nick Clegg takes some time out to help with his mate Steve's barn conversion.
After enjoying a couple of his favourite cigarettes, George Michael just has to guide his car into a parking space and he's safely home.
And as an elderly gentleman sits down to watch his favourite TV programme, he begins to wonder what the terrible racket outside is. On Ian's team is a Channel 4 newsreader who, when asked by a journalist what her dream achievement in TV would be, refused to answer. But, of course, now she's met us. Please welcome Samira Ahmed.
And on Paul's team, we demanded a comedian with a foodie name, and we did consider Dara O'Brien, Lee Mackerel, but we decided in the end to go for Richard Herring. And so we start with the biggest stories of the week.
And believe me, there are some big, big stories here. Ian and Samira, take a look at this.
First birthday?
Yep, that looks lovely, that cake.
I beg your pardon? I never promised you a rose garden. In fact, I'm going to boot you out of it.
Look, it's all sad now, isn't it? 1 year on.
I couldn't give a Castlemaine 4X for AV.
Oh.
He's so lonely.
That's the only Scottish Lib Dem left. But the Libs didn't have a great night. They got slaughtered everywhere. But it's coalition government. You share the responsibilities. The Conservatives do the winning. Paddy Ashdown said that the Tories behaved really badly. Instead of letting them win, they tried to win themselves.
Was anyone surprised by the AV vote?
No. All the polls said it would go that way, and it did.
But it seems that Ed Miliband isn't really sort of like... He's not making the inroads that people hoped he would make, and it seems to me they're missing an opportunity here, because there's brothers, obviously there's David as well. They need to find... because they could virtually swap and nobody would know, but if you find somebody who looks a bit like the two of them, replace Ed Miliband with the bloke who looks a little bit like the two of them, we get used to it. Oh, yeah, he's grown a beard now. And then David Miliband can come in about 3 or 4 months later, and everybody will just think it's the same bloke.
Genius.
It is.
It's pretty amazing, because 1 year on, the Conservative Party gains seats. Yes, Britain, tough opposition there.
But it's like the left wing are only happy if they're losing, because then it's like the good old days when they're in opposition for ages.
Yeah, there's nothing worse than being in power.
You watch Ed Miliband the next few weeks, he'll be started talking behind frosted glass. And then you'll just see half his face behind the door, and that's how they do it. You watch.
Another question. The AV referendum was combined with regional assemblies and council elections. What were people calling it?
The elections. No, it's probably harder than that,
Was
isn't
it the joint referendum and local council day?
No, it's far simpler than that. They actually called it Super Thursday, or if you were Nick Clegg, Shit Thursday.
Let's have a look at some of the BBC coverage from the election night, and here's David Dimbleby talking to Eric Pickles.
Let's just talk about England and what you expect, because you know about local government, even though you're not the local government minister. What do you think the Conservative, what kind of losses would you expect?
Well, if you forgive me for saying I'm Secretary of State for local government, so I do know...
Communities.
Communities and local government.
Right.
It's a biggish department.
But you're not very fond of local government, are you?
Just by...
You don't like local councils?
Well, at least, Mr Dimbleby, I read my brief before I come on the programme.
Yeah.
Oh, and look at this. Look, here's David Dimbleby handing over to a reporter.
Well, Sian Lloyd joins us now from Cardiff. Sian, we've been talking, you probably heard us, about the SNP, the Nationalist Party in Scotland, being on the up and up. What's the position of Plaid...
How did Nick Clegg account for the Lib Dems' bad showing everywhere?
We put our names on the ballot papers.
We underestimated the popularity of the Lib Dems.
The papers actually didn't seem to be able to find any shots of him smiling. Look.
Oh, it's the full Bambi here, isn't it?
Poor old Nick Clegg. He's actually a regular at my restaurant.
Is that why he's poor old Nick Clegg?
He said, how's things? I said, well, it's all right. I said, you know, the recession, but I'd rather have my troubles than yours. And he laughed and patted me on the back.
Yeah.
Did he laugh or did he just look really sad?
Do you know what some people are calling him now?
Mr Clegg.
I do know what they're calling him. Because this is the worst pun I've ever seen in a newspaper headline, which is saying something... Pinicchio. They're calling him Pinicchio because he lies. Is that what you've got?
No.
You talk about a pun. I saw a pun in whichever paper Kelvin Mackenzie writes. It must be The Sun, I suppose. And when Osama bin Laden was captured, he had this little joke. He said that the Irish SAS stormed into a department store because they heard on the 5th floor there was summer bed linen. Last week's episode, summer bed linen.
Oh, he's just...
And it's stuck in my head, and now it's stuck in yours. Who do we sue? Can I take out an injunction against that joke so we don't have to hear it? It's not a joke, is it?
Are we done?
Yeah, I think
Thanks.
so. Let's go. Oh, sorry, there's more.
Some of the council results were
I
very...
didn't know it was timed.
You seem upset that we're making jokes. Have you had quite enough? It's like a school teacher.
Ready for your main course now?
It's your time you're wasting.
It's getting cold.
Yeah.
Summer bed linen. Any joke written by spell check.
Some of the council results were extremely tight. What were they forced to do in Ramsbottom?
Draw straws, because it was the same number of votes.
Absolutely.
Oh, really?
You are absolutely spot on. So here's the straw poll.
Every election has its moments, but few beat this. Up in Bury, after a dead heat and 3 recounts, they chose to draw lots.
We've got the longest straw!
What are the Conservative Party feeling at the moment?
Fine. Happy. They're trying not to be triumphal. I think there's an edict gone out saying don't laugh when the Lib Dems come in.
Almost, yeah. According to The Guardian, Number 10 sent out a message to Tory ministers to avoid being smug in front of the Lib Dems. A senior Lib Dem told The Sun, you won't see us spending a lot of time moaning about the result. Meanwhile, Lib Dem peer Tony Greaves said, we never liked Cameron, he's a toppy-nosed slimebag.
Does anybody know how the potential leadership rivals to Nick Clegg are shaping up?
Yes.
Chris Huhne.
Chris Huhne.
He's never liked Nick, and he's never liked David, and he's never been very good at hiding it.
He's good at hiding his driving points, though, isn't he? Are we allowed to say that?
Are you suggesting he tried to offload his speeding points onto someone else? Because that's what his ex-wife said after he left her and went off with someone else.
But, of course, Chris Huhne does deny them.
How How do you offload your driving points to somebody else?
I don't know, I think you just say, will you say you were driving?
Oh, I see, yes, of course.
Most marriages in this country are just held together by the fact that wives have done that for their husbands and the husband knows he can't leave.
Yeah. Sometimes the most romantic letters in the world are DVLA.
What about David Law's chances?
He's the Lib Dem who had to resign over his expenses.
It was because he didn't want anyone to know about his private life.
Right.
And
so he
because-
charged rent to the public.
Yeah.
He could have paid his boyfriend the rent himself, couldn't he?
Oh, and he was paying
Or the boyfriend could have not charged him rent.
Well, he was also paying, apparently...
Just an idea.
But also, didn't the Parliamentary Commissioner find that he was paying £200 to £300 a month more than the market rent?
So his boyfriend was ripping him off. He didn't know his boyfriend... Yeah, this is £500 a week, this flat, yeah.
When you said you were a rent boy, I didn't know it was going to be my rent. Something like that.
How would you sum up the Lib Dems' position?
You nearly said Limp Dems.
Freudian slip. The Times did a poll and asked its readers to state which words summed up the three leaders. Gregg, weak and out of his depth. Miliband, out of his depth and weak. Cameron, arrogant and smug.
But in his depth, he's fine. He's in the right depth. Arrogantly and smugly weeing into the water. And making us drink it.
Yeah.
OK.
Does he really make us drink it?
He does, yeah.
Well, I'm not bothering with that.
It does look like the Tories will have to make some sort of human sacrifice to appease the Lib Dems. Do you know who it is?
Not Eric Pickles, then.
Is it Andy
don't know.
Lansley?
Yeah, no, he's going to be hung out to dry. This is what Cameron does. If you make a mistake and he didn't know about it, it's all over. If you say you're going to reform the health service and everyone says, oh, don't, he says, good idea, I won't, you're sacked.
David Millet's...
Millet's?
No. He was too intense. Hey, right, sorry.
Don't lead your own applause, it doesn't look good.
I've got a drink of water and start again.
Yeah, absolutely. That's fine. Can we just talk about your starter? Because obviously it's lacked a little bit of focus here, hasn't it? It seems the two of you actually fighting against the concept here. You've come up with mince and you've got sponge pudding. I mean, what do you think? Do you see the two of them coming together? Do you think that's going to work in the end?
Mince and a sponge pudding?
Yes. I don't watch your show. Well, no, I did, actually. I did. No, I watched it the other day to find out who you were. And... I did research.
Very good.
So I think you're doing brilliantly.
Thank you.
Whoever you are.
There was some bad news for Ed Miliband this week.
Yeah.
What was it?
The bloke who's trying to pretend to be him and his brother's gone on holiday. He said, I'm off, I can't. He's off.
It was Nick from The Apprentice who told The Sun that he has the weakest handshake in Western Europe.
Are we reduced to quoting Nick from The Apprentice? Top political analyst.
Yes, it's the aftermath of the local elections and the AB referendum.
The Sun headline after the catastrophic local election losses for the Liberal Democrats was Liberal Demo Crash, which is coincidentally how Charles Kennedy used to say it.
And after the local elections, Chief Treasury Secretary Danny Alexander was apparently unable to contain himself as he waited to give an interview on Sky News. According to the Daily Mirror, he loudly broke wind. Still the most welcome contribution for the Lib Dem this year.
The triumphant SNP is planning a referendum on Scottish independence by 2015, according to the Daily Mail. Gordon Brown is poised to lead the fight to stop Scotland breaking away from England. So, independence it is then.
I don't mind if Scotland breaks away, as long as Gordon Brown's in Scotland.
Australians get an opinion.
It was an Australian who managed to stop England being in Scotland in the first place, Mel Gibson.
Yeah.
This week saw the government embarrassed by plans to let wealthy people buy place at university. University and college union leader Sally Hunt said, we risk turning the clock back to a time when breeding rather than brains were required to get on in life. To which the cabinet responded, huzzah!
It's huzzah.
You know, I knew you would know how to say that. And where do you learn how to recite this? Is it something they kind of teach you?
Osmosis.
That's a new college in Oxford.
Paul and Richard, here's your story.
Oh, right, OK. Oh, yes, this is the schoolboy, Chris, I think his name is. He's saying that it's unfair that boys at the school should wear long trousers during the hot weather, because girls can wear skirts, obviously. You can't concentrate because he's got trousers on in hot weather and he can't concentrate. It's the same at school. I mean, we all remember that. I mean, you know, I couldn't do equilateral equations until I took my boots off. Then it all became very clear. I didn't learn Spanish until I removed my vest, and then suddenly, when I did my O-levels, it was such a hot summer, I sewed small electric motors into my underpants. But I did too many of them, and I went out the window and I hovered above the science block for about 45 minutes. And in the end, I made a robust sort of descent into a deputy headmaster, but it was, you know, and I still passed.
How old is the boy then?
He's 12.
I was 19 before I got into a girl's skirt.
Ian, you went to a posh school. How important is it to take your trousers off to get on?
The important thing, whether you're wearing worsted trousers or tweed, is to keep everything on and be as hot as possible for the entire summer.
Yeah.
Prepares you for the colonies.
Yeah.
Here is 12-year-old Chris Whitehead in Histon in Cambridgeshire.
He's a very brave young man.
Yeah.
My dad was my headmaster at school.
Was he?
Yeah. I wore all sensible shoes. I had a briefcase. I was in the school bands. I carried a trumpet in a briefcase to school most days. It was like I was a buckaroo of bullying. I mean, how many things can we put on this kid? So a skirt would have been a good one. That would have just tipped it over, I think.
I should think he'll be a hero, won't he? I mean, he took on the school, made them look ridiculous.
Other items of clothing banned by the school rules include jeans, corduroys, drain pipes, leggings and capri pants.
There is this ridiculous fashion at the moment where young men walk around as if they're as if they're carrying very large rocks in their trousers. And it's peer pressure. It's like rah-rah skirts 20, 30 years ago when women wore... They made them look like they were wearing giant nappies. And now you've got this sort of thing where your trousers are halfway down your... I mean, how is that... where... You know, how does something like that catch on? It just seems to be incredible.
Well, I'm bothered about the fact that rah-rah skirts clearly scarred you 20 to 30 years ago.
No, unlike Richard, I didn't get into rah-rah skirts for some time.
You know, Richard once asked me out at college, and people wonder why I said no.
I was 19 and yet to get into a girl's skirt. You could have been...
I think you've lost your chance there.
He said, you want to let's go out with me? I said no, and you went, it's worth a try. And then you went straight off to someone else.
Yeah, that was my technique. That was my very good technique in the first year. I started with the most beautiful girls.
Yeah.
Then got down to Samira.
You said she turned you down.
My big brother's here as well, Richard. Afterwards.
All right, I'll give him a go. Where's the capri pants? Explain the capri pants to me. There's people at home going, what are capri pants?
They're kind of cropped trousers. Audrey Hepburn wore them a lot in the 50s.
Like culottes?
No, they're snug, but they're cropped, sort of below the shin.
How did Chris describe the experience of wearing a skirt?
An interesting prelude to being beaten up.
He actually said wearing a skirt is just like wearing shorts with a gap in the middle.
Yeah, it's true.
Well, he's a bright kid and no mistake.
No stopping him.
So we're moving on, and meanwhile, Upmarket magazine Country Life has identified 39 life skills that young people really ought to have. The list includes how to skin a rabbit, sustain a 10-shot rally in tennis...
How not to lose your wristwatch inside a cow.
Most vital of all, ride a horse to Jackaroo standard.
I don't know what Jackaroo standard is. Is he related to Danny LaRue?
The skills list also includes the ability to slip away from a football riot once you've started it by shouting at some working-class people.
And finally, at number 39, young people absolutely can't get on with life without knowing how to deliver a lamb.
Or a pizza, if you live in London.
The deputy editor of Country Life, Rupert Uloff, has said...
I hate my parents.
He said, we are rather hoping to start a debate. So let's start that debate.
Yes.
How much of a knob do we think Rupert Uloff is?
The
But this is 12-year-old schoolboy Chris Whitehead, who protested about not being allowed to wear shorts in hot weather by wearing a skirt. The school has actually been quite supportive, right up to the moment he tried to wear a burqa to French lessons.
The school has a firm dress code, which includes no leggings or capri pants and no excessive makeup or nail polish, which is bad news for Head of Geography, Mr Wilson.
Have you checked there isn't a Mr Wilson there? Because I can feel a super injunction.
There's a lot of these super injunctions flying around at the moment. There is the... well, you know, obviously we can't sort of say anything about the identity of these people, but there is an editor of a prominent satirical magazine... of which there are many available in your newsagents, has been photographed dressed as William Pitt the Younger. So... I'm not saying it's not you, Ian, it's not you, it's not you. It is, it's in.
And so to round two.
Yeah.
And it doesn't get more second round than this. It's the news bullock. Buzz when you know
which news bullock?
Buzz when you know which news story each cut of meat reveals.
Sirloin.
Oh, a story emerged in the last week that after the 9/11 terrorist attacks, Marlon Brando, Elizabeth Taylor and Michael Jackson fled New York in a hired car to escape what they thought was going to be Armageddon. And this is... how I conjured it up from that picture, I've no idea. So, I don't know if this is a true story.
Didn't they stop regularly because Marlon wanted lots of junk food?
And Elizabeth would be looking for a husband. I've been married for 20 minutes.
Don't let Michael Jackson drive. He's been dangling his baby out the window.
When he comes to a zebra crossing, it's very confusing for him. I used to be like that,
Who was behind the wacky idea?
Burt Reynolds.
Has it got so bad on Have I Got News For You that we got to discuss a 10-year-old story that clearly isn't even true? Yeah. Is there really no news this week?
It must be true. Look, there they are.
So, who do you think did all the driving?
It was Chris Hoon driving.
It turns out that Brando and Jackson shared the driving. Liz couldn't be asked.
It didn't happen. Elizabeth Taylor said, I'll do a little stint in the middle if you like. No, it's all right, Liz, you sit back. This is what happened. This is exactly what...
Oh, I
just because someone has said it.
Exactly. I do miss Richard Burton. No, look, Marlon, there's a Kentucky Fried Chicken over there. Michael, quick, we haven't paid. What do you mean? Beat it!
This story is so thin that even the Mirror uses the word allegedly. And they're all dead.
Yeah. This is the alleged road trip in which 3 of the world's greatest stars fled from New York after 9/11 in a hire car. While Brando was eating KFC, he bit into an unpleasant lump of gristle and bone as Jacko's nose had just fallen into the family bucket.
Fingers on Buzz's teams.
This is Max Mosley, who attempted to bring a European ruling on privacy because of the idea that people like him should get informed before someone runs a story about their orgies.
Just in case they want to go.
Yeah, this is the ongoing super injunctions fiasco and Max Mosley's defeat at the European Court of Human Rights.
Is that picture taken at one of his orgies?
I thought he'd gone bankrupt, but then somebody said, no, he's just been strapped for cash. So you see how you can easily get confused.
I thought it was a very sensible ruling from the European Court of Human Rights. I thought, hurrah for them. He wanted, essentially, to bring in a law that said you have to inform people in advance if you're going to run a story about them, at which point they can take out an injunction. And then that's the end of the story. So it wouldn't have been a great day for the freedom of the press.
How did some of the newspapers sensitively deal with Max Mosley's loss?
I expect they were triumphant and gloating to a revolting pitch.
Let's have a look.
Up yours, Maxie boy.
Almost. Almost. Yeah, the Sun went for Mosley takes a proper spanking. He won't enjoy this one. While the Mirror went for Mosley takes a beating, and not for the first time.
And Twitter, of course, found itself in the centre of the whole injunction debate this week. How did that all happen?
Well, someone on Twitter put up tweets, supposedly naming the people in the super injunction, but they got it wrong, which meant the papers could then run pictures of people saying it's not them.
These two people have not slept together.
Exactly. So we're in the position the press
some
is
of them
allowed
have
to
said
report
it.
a story that's not true.
Some of them said it isn't, but some of them have stayed a bit quiet about it, which is the kind of an interesting thing. And the ones who remain quiet aren't in the papers, but you can find out about them online very easily still.
Actually, I mean, everyone thinks they're 6, but they're not. I mean, they're about 50-odd. I mean, a huge number of these. Not all of them are about sex with footballers. Quite a lot of them are, but who cares? On with the orgy.
Have you been to an orgy, Ian? I can imagine you being quite... I can imagine you going around politely introducing yourself to people.
So that's what it was?
Yes. But are these things really... I mean, all the ones I've seen are really inconsequential. You know, I think if it's someone like a politician saying, you must have family values, and then he's going off being... I didn't even know what BDSM was. I thought they'd taught me how to drive, I thought, but... it explains why the seatbelts were a bit tight now.
Yeah. Reversing around corners is no picnic.
There's some useful advice to celebrities caught up in the super injunction confusion from a journalist on Sky News.
If you don't want to be on the front page of the newspapers, don't pay hookers to stick dildos up your bum.
Yeah, all right, OK. Well, that's,
We used to sing that during the war, do you remember?
God, I really wish my dad wasn't in the audience today.
This is the ongoing super injunction fiasco and Max Mosley's defeat in the European Court of Human Rights. Despite losing £30,000 in legal fees, he's now considering taking the case to the Grand Chamber of Europe. Gosh, he really is a glutton for punishment.
Fingers on buzzers, teams.
Is this Samoa? Samoa's decided to move to the other side of the date line.
Yeah.
It used to have its time linked to America, but now it wants it linked back to Australia and New Zealand. They're literally shifting themselves. Well, they're not literally, are they? Anyway, somehow...
Rolling the islands.
Yeah. With the theme tune. That was Hawaii, not Samoa at all.
Was that a little dance you were doing there?
No, I was the guy with the paddle.
Oh, I see.
I was Book Him Dano. The other one. Ho Chi plays Chin Ho.
That was an ITV show. How did you come to see this?
I must have been round at a friend's house.
Yeah, well done, Ian. This is the news that...
Going round a friend's house? Watching Hawaii 5-0?
And getting everything completely wrong.
That's the news that Samoa plans to move itself from one side of the international date line to the other by moving forward by 1 day. Who's the mastermind behind this national time shift?
The Prime Minister, isn't it?
The doctor?
Yes, it is the Prime Minister. Here he is. After a big lunch.
He's trained those butterflies well, though, hasn't he?
How's the move gone down with the native Samoans?
Are they unhappy at having lost a day? Weren't there riots once, a couple hundred years
Yeah,
ago, when they changed
we
the
want back
calendar?
our 11
And they
days.
wanted their 11 days back when they went
right.
from one calendar to the other.
That's right.
The Gregorian calendar, when it was
That's
brought
right,
in,
yeah,
replacing the Julian, isn't it?
Hello,
What?
I'm Gregorian. This is my calendar, Julian.
Apparently the Mirror has said that one of the islanders was less impressed and he branded the whole operation really confusing. Well, that was tomorrow and they'll probably change their mind yesterday.
Monica on MasterChef, she's Samoan. I'll ask her.
MasterChef.
MasterChef.
That's it.
Capital M. Yeah, got it? That's it.
Very popular cookery show.
Is it?
Oh,
Is it?
yes.
Can someone Google it?
We should have more of those. Cookery show.
So this is Samoa's plan to shift across the time zone. Samoa is bringing itself in line with New Zealand time, so now it's just 50 years behind the rest of the world.
Some people are not happy with the change. According to the Daily Telegraph, the Samoan tourist industry is based on the fact that it's the last place on Earth to see the sun, although Huddersfield runs it pretty close. Fingers on buzzers again, teams.
Nothing.
Is this the guy that's invented a way of kissing somebody on the internet?
No.
Looks like he's invented... Not at all. He invented a way of using the sense of smell to get round London or an app on a phone, is what it looks like.
No, this is actually the news that a designer has finally come up with a solution to the problem of when you want to operate your touchscreen phone with your nose. Dominic came up with the design because he found that it was hard to use his touch phone in the bath without getting it wet. He tried using his nose, but he couldn't see where he was touching, and it wasn't... it wasn't very precise. When he realised this, he decided creating a finger-nose stylus would be the logical next step.
No, it isn't. The next step is to get out the bath. What is wrong with him?
Do you want to see him?
He seems to have irritated you beyond all measure.
I thought it might be something to do with hay fever or something useful. Some bloke with a nose finger device.
Do you want to see him with these...
I want to see him every day.
Do you want to see the nasal poker in action?
Yeah. I want to see it every week.
Oh,
Here they are, look.
I think he missed the obvious thing they could have poked it with in the bath.
And read it.
It's one of those inventions which should never have really been invented, isn't it? What is this, a mini-series? Have you got the box set of this?
It smacks of someone making up an excuse, working backwards, I think, with this. The man was found with that on his face.
Yeah, absolutely.
In his first tweet using the nose stylus, the inventor admitted the idea was stupid. Or as he typed it, SY9ID6. It's time now for the odd one out round. Just one between the two of you this week. They are Sarah Palin and Lou Sarah, Osama bin Laden and Barack Obama, Vidal Sassoon and Gore Vidal, and Ben Nevis and Stob Ban.
The odd one out is Sarah Palin and the Lou Sarah thing, because other ones are all confused identities, aren't they?
And have been confused. So someone on an American TV channel announced that Obama was dead.
Yes.
When they meant Osama was dead.
But they wished Obama was dead
unless
on
it was Fox News.
Unless it was
happy.
summer bed linen.
The mountain one is a charity group was supposed to be doing the Three Peaks Challenge and they were going to be climbing Ben Nevis, but they went up the wrong one.
And then Vidal Sassoon and Gore Vidal, presumably someone went into a hairdresser saying, "I'll have a Gore Vidal, please," and was given a lightly satirical essay. Sarah Palin, she's just shocked because someone's gone black.
No, the other one is her... It's her... She had a secret identity on Facebook where she was posting stuff about Sarah Palin's really cool.
Oh, really?
She should be president. And it was her in a secret identity.
The woman you love, Ian.
Are you saying she wrote... I can't believe it.
Did she think she'd get away with it because her alter ego had a bell for a head?
So, who's your one out?
Sarah Palin and Thingamajig, because they are the same person.
And the others have all been confused for each other.
But are different.
It's a brilliant answer by Samira. It must be right.
Very good. They've all been mistaken for each other, apart from Sarah Palin, although she does use a false identity online. How did Lou Sarah's page allude to Mrs. Palin?
It said, she's a brilliant plologlycian.
She thinks what the rest of us say.
Well, according to the Daily Telegraph, she used the account to comment "Amen" on Sarah Palin's posts, as well as praising Palin's daughter's performances on Dancing with the Stars.
An identity mix-up had disastrous consequences for the hairdresser Vidal Sassoon when he was mistakenly given an enema meant for the writer Gore Vidal and a hellfire. How did it leak out?
Skip through that bit.
Well, Sassoon's biggest regret, according to his autobiography, is not inventing frizzies.
What is frizzies?
Well, I wouldn't know.
No, you wouldn't know.
No.
Osama bin Laden and Barack Obama, the names Osama and Obama, have been causing confusion in the media. Here's a report from Canada's Global News Channel.
It started when Obama took office. He directed the head of the CIA to make killing Obama their #1 priority. And in August, they got a possible lead on where Obama might be hiding. He was located, possibly, they believed at that time, in a compound deep within Pakistan.
God, that's so embarrassing. But I did wonder whether there was some confusion, because, of course, he's got that middle name Hussein. And there's a whole thing about him being a secret Muslim. So perhaps... That wasn't Fox News, was it?
No, that was Canadians.
Oh, they were Canadians.
Yes,
okay.
Canada's Global News Channel.
Canadian news, Ian, you know.
How did the Navy SEALs confirm that they indeed had got their man? Well, the Sunday Mail actually said the Navy SEAL was asked to stretch out next to bin Laden's corpse to compare the heights with the Al-Qaeda leader.
Oh, yeah.
He was thought to be 6 foot tall, and when the information was relayed to President Obama, he apparently said, "We donated a $60 million helicopter to this operation. Can we not afford a tape measure?" Details of Osama's behaviour within the secret hideout came to light over the weekend. What did we discover?
Oh, he watches a lot of TV.
Big fan of this show.
And he also dyes his beard. I bet that's what you're going for.
Ah, very good. He dyed his beard to look younger. Was seen...
Wow, that's a serious crime compared to all the others he's done.
The mountain climbers story, Ben Nevis Stob Ban. A group of 5 friends set out to scale Ben Nevis as part of the 3 Peaks Challenge for charity, but they climbed one called Stob Ban instead. When did the climbers suspect something may not be right?
Welcome to the Stob Ban touristic attraction by your Stob Ban calendar here at the top of the mountain.
Well, according to team leader Damien Davis, we had a gut feeling we might have taken the wrong turn, but from ground level, those mountains all look about the same height. Yes, of course, they've all been the victim of mistaken identity, apart from Sarah Palin, although she does sometimes use a false identity online. Lou Sarah praised her daughter's performance on Dancing with the Stars. Alaskan TV also has a show called Dancing on Ice, in which celebrity contestants fire a rifle at a moose's feet.
On a visit to the health club, Vidal Sassoon was accidentally given an enema, and his mood wasn't improved when someone held a mirror around the back to show him how it looked. So this is where we start to apply the pressure. You have 5 minutes, just 5 minutes left. Time now for the Missing Words round, which this week features, as its guest publication, International Sandwich and Snack News magazine.
And we start with what blamed on dangerous haircut?
Enema.
The Third Reich.
No, the answer is yellow card. This is the Aussie Rules football player who was sent off by a referee who deemed his hairstyle to be dangerous. There is a precedent, of course, from English football from the 1960s when Bobby Charlton's comb-over almost had someone's eye out. Let's have a butcher's. Here's the dangerous haircut in question.
He came up to me and just said, "Oh, you can't wear your hair like that." And I was sort of like, "What?" And he's like, "No, it's too dangerous. You might poke someone in the eye." And yeah, in the last quarter, with about 10 minutes to go, he came up to me and said, "I thought I told you you can't wear that hairstyle." And I was like, "What?" And he's like, "Nah, you can't wear that." And he grabbed his old coat and said, "You have to go off."
Yep.
Next up, what provides reassurance in uncertain times of the recession?
Money.
A good British sandwich.
Oh, well, the answer actually is salmon and cucumber sandwich.
Yes, there we are.
A full page of facts and figures from the British Sandwich Association on the recession's impact on the sandwich economy ends with the line, "For further information, please contact Jim Winship on 01632 960 875 or 077 00 900 985. To be honest, Jim, I think probably one hotline number is enough.
Not now it's been on the telly, I don't think it is.
Next, 114 mile per hour hearse. What?
Creates own business by ploughing into funeral. Creates havoc at Sandwich Awards.
It actually breaks world speed record. According to the Mail, the hearse speed record was set by the Reverend Ray Biddis. Or more accurate, the Reverend Ray Biddis and his passenger, the late Mrs. Edna Hopkins. Let's have a look.
It doesn't seem to be going very fast.
Next up, furry dolphin, what?
Or cheese and pickle. The choice is yours. Which do you want? You want the furry dolphin, you want the cheese and pickle? What do you want?
Very good.
Turns out to be Robin Williams surfing.
The answer is causes panic attack. This is a drama student who is paralysed with terror if she sees anyone in a fancy dress costume.
Next, what has no direct connection with a sandwich?
Liza Minnelli. The Pope. Aldershot.
Almost everything.
Yes.
The buffet car with the London to Edinburgh Express. Lord Sandwich, the Earl of Sandwich, has no direct connection.
Yeah, but he does.
But he does, doesn't he?
He does.
Yeah, I know, but they might have unearthed some sort of, you know, Bell Time team or something. I can't believe it. Look, he got cheese and pickle here. That was made in the 14th century, you know, something like that. It's been in the ground, and I dug it up. I can't believe it. Look, it's in the ground. Was it that?
No. Sandwich in Kent is the answer. And if you find that disappointing, I have equally bad news about the town of Scotch Egg in Cambridgeshire. And finally,
yes.
Let's what, argues Dan Shittenstags.
Go to the name-changing clinic. Clinic? Let's make sandwiches like there's no tomorrow.
Let's allow proper names in Scrabble.
Let's give our customers a well-built sandwich. So the final scores are Paul and Richard on 5 and Ian and Samira 6.
Hey!
But before we go, there's just time for the caption competition.
How many sisters do you say you had?
No, you go away. Cleaned that one up.
Always go for stone. That's what
Yeah.
I should have.
That's right.
What about fuck off, Boris? And I leave you with news that in Oxfordshire, it looks like there's been one tabloid story too many for Mrs Clarkson.
And at a court in Rome, Silvio Berlusconi describes in graphic detail exactly what he did with that female dwarf.
And as they frolic naked on their honeymoon yacht in the Seychelles, there's a surprise in store for Kate and William.
Good night.
Good night.
Leonardo DiCaprio stars as dual smuggler who gets mixed up in all sorts of trouble next in Blood Diamond. But if you fancy more giggles at 10, Russell Howard is over on BBC Three with some good news best bits.